Hello everyone, namaste, good evening. So today on 20th April 2024, we have started a new series in the platform of the history enthusiasts. And the name of the series is History of English Literature in India. Our first lecture in this series is being given by Dr. Nagaratna Parande ma'am, and the title of the lecture is The Evolution of Indian English Novel. I warmly welcome you, ma'am, to the platform of the history enthusiasts. We are glad that you accepted our invitation and are blessed to listen to your lecture. And I also welcome our honorary president, Sri Nandan Shastri ji, and president of the history enthusiasts, Miss Manali Momaya, and our all the lovely audience who are eagerly waiting to listen to the lecture. So now I request Miss Manali Momaya to introduce our today's resource person, Dr. Nagaratna Parande ma'am. Over to you, Manali.
Thank you very much, Nidhi. It is indeed a pleasure to introduce ma'am today on this August occasion. Dr. Nagaratna Parande, ma'am, has master's degree both in English and Kannada. She obtained her MPhil and PhD in English literature from Karnataka University, Dharwad. She also has to her credit a PG diploma from English Foreign Language University, Hyderabad. She has 23 years of teaching experience. Appointed through the Karnataka Public Service Commission in 2006, she has served in many government first grade colleges. She joined Rani Channamma University in 2012 and has served as vice principal and coordinator of PG departments at Sangoli Rayana First Grade Constituent College, Belagavi. At present, she is working as a professor at the Department of English, Rani Channamma University, Belagavi. She is currently guiding 6 research scholars and has been RAC, BOS, and BOE member at many universities. She has authored 5 books titled Modern English Grammar and Usage, A Rainbow Bridge, Globalisation and Literature, Gendering Diaspora, revisiting Anita Desai's Clear Light of Day, and has co edited Venugopala Abhinandan. She has published more than 50 research articles in peer reviewed national and international journals. Her areas of research include comparative literature and diaspora literature. She is a member of various professional bodies like the International Comparative Literature Association, IACLALS, IACLSC, English Language Teachers Association of India, Kannada Sahitya Parishat, Bengaluru, and so on. Ma'am, it is indeed a pleasure and honor to have you today with us on this platform. And I am very grateful to you for sharing your valuable time with us today. And looking forward, as a lover of English literature, very much looking forward to your lecture, ma'am. The stage is open for you.
Thank you, Manali, for your generous words. Good evening, everyone. Uh, Dear organizers and dear participants, Professor Nandan Shastri, Manali Mumaya, and Nidhi Kati. So, I thank all of you for giving me this opportunity, and I feel privileged to be here. And thank you for choosing me as the first speaker of this e-lecture series. I must appreciate and congratulate you people for such a wonderful initiative, and you are doing very wonderful job. And the topic given to me is the evolution of Indian English novel. I have divided my lecture into 6 parts. Rather, I have segregated Indian English novels into 6 categories here for our convenience sake. So, those first slide, please. That is, I have listed my 6 parts of my lecture here. I just go through that. The first one is colonial context and early influences, early novelists and their works, and regional voices and themes, nationalist consciousness and literary expression, social realism, and the last one is diverse voices and themes. So these are the six parts of my lecture today. How much time do I have, uh, Manali?
Ma'am, anywhere between 45 minutes to 1 hour.
45 minutes to 1 hour. So within that period, I'll try to finish this off. Okay. Uh, you know, as we all know, uh, you take any literature, it starts with poetry. So Indian English writing or Indian English literature, earlier we used to call it Indian writing in English. So it also began with poetry, and the premier kind was poetry. And it was followed by other forms, especially drama became very popular. And it is very interesting to know that today Indian English novel or Indian English fiction, fiction means both novel and short stories, it's very popular, but it was the last to arrive on the Indian English literary scene. So the growth of Indian English fiction or Indian English novel, it far exceeded most of other forms. And Indian English novel, like other branches of Indian English literature, originated and grew up under the aegis of British. When we talk about Indian English literature, when we talk about history of Indian English literature, some of the names, so mentioning those names is inevitable, like M.K. Nayak, K.R. Srinivas Iyengar, and recent one Arvindra K. Mehrotra. So all these people have written history of Indian English literature. So M.K. Nayak's most celebrated book, A History of Indian English Literature. In his book, he defines Indian English literature as literature written originally in English by authors Indian by birth, ancestry, or nationality. So, this is the definition he gives in his book titled History of Indian English Literature. And he also, mentions there in that book. I quote again Professor M.K. Nayak. One of the most notable gifts of English education is prose fiction, for though India was probably a fountainhead of storytelling, the novel, as we know today, was the important contribution from the West. So, as he mentions, we know that this Indian English novel is the contribution of English education, contribution of colonial rule. And when we talk about fiction, so fiction, you know, the social consciousness and fiction go hand in hand. As a creative process, this fiction registers the evolution of society itself. Thus, the evolution of fiction, the evolution of social consciousness of so as the social apparatus are simultaneous and intermesh. Since from the beginning, Indian English novel has inseparable bonds with socio-political milieu of this country, and the emerging national political consciousness in India so slowly permeated to the grassroots, and that has been mirrored in Indian English novel. So ever since its genesis in the first quarter of 20th century, Indian English novel has continued to engage itself with nearly the same themes, that is, history, politics, and social reforms, and search for, this is the most important theme, that is, the search for self identity. Here, the first, next slide, please. The first part of my lecture is I'm going to talk about social context and early influences here. So, this beginning of Indian English novel, it marks a significant milestone in the literary history of India because it represents the convergence of British colonial influence with indigenous cultural expressions. The origin of Indian English novel can be traced back to the colonial period when British administrators, missionaries, scholars introduced English education and literature to India. I'm not going to elaborate this thing because all are aware about this how English education started in India, the Charter Act, Macaulay's Minute. So, how a medium of education was introduced, English as a medium of education in India, and what is the result of that. And Indian English novel is, beneficiary of this English medium education. And this period, that colonial period, that witnessed the emergence of pioneering works, and those works laid the foundation for development of Indian English literature. The early writers, we all we are talking about Indian English novel, but before this, there were, you know, we cannot call them novels proper. There were early efforts were there to write tales rather than novels because those works are not proper novels, and all these novels appeared in journals. So the first you know one is Kailash Chandra Dutt's A Journal of 48 Hours in the year of 1945. The title of this, you can call it a tale or a narrative, and that was appeared in a journal called the Calcutta Literary Gazette in 1835. I repeat the title here, A Journal of 48 Hours of the year 1945. It was written by Kailash Chandra Dutt. And a similar kind of work is Shoshi Chandra Dutt's Republic of Orissa, Annals from the Pages of 20th Century. So it appeared in Saturday Evening Harakuru in 1845. So these are, like earlier earliest efforts we can call, though these are not proper novels, but it that Indian English novel began with this. So earlier novels, those next slide, early novelists, that Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, we're all aware uh, what role he played in a national movement and what place he has got in Bengali literature. But Bankim Chandra Chatterjee wrote only one novel in English, and the title of that novel is Raj Mohan's Wife. And this novel is considered as the first Indian English novel. And again, it was published in a weekly. The name of the weekly is The Indian Field in 1864. Indian Field in 18. The title is Raj Mohan's Wife, and it was published in as a serial. It was published in 1864, and only, as late as 1935 it appeared in book form. And initially, uh, this novel was written mainly by Bengali writers, and then Madras writers from Madras wrote novels in English. So I want to mention two names here. One is A Madhavaya, and another one is T Ramakrishna Pillai. And from 60s up to the end of 19th century, there were some stray novels, and these novels were written mainly by Bengali and writers from Madras presidencies. And majority of these novels were social novels. A few were historical novels, and these early writers, early novelists, they followed British writers as their models, like Defoe, Fielding, Scott. So they modeled upon these writers. Very interesting thing is there were some early women novelists also. So we have as many as 4 novelists before the turn of 19th century here. That is Rajalakshmi Devi. Rajalakshmi Devi's novel is The Hindu Wife or The Enchanted Fruit. It was published in 1876. And Toru Dutt's unfinished novel, that is, she passed away very at early age and she could not finish it. The title of that novel is Bianca or the Young Spanish Maiden. It was published in 1878. And another woman writer is Krupabai Satyanand. Her novel is Kamala, A Story of Hindu Life. It was published in 1895. And she has one more novel to her credit, that is Saguna, A Story of Native Christian Life. Again, it was published in the same year, 1895. And one more writer is there, woman writer, Sevantibai Nikambe's, her novel is Ratnabai, A Sketch of Bombay High Caste Hindu Young Wife. So these early women novelists were also there. And what is the urge of these novels? That was social reform. Social reform was an important theme of these early Indian English novels. Topics like position of women, the plight of peasants, the decay of old aristocracy were dealt in most of these works. However, very another interesting point I want to make here is political theme was absent in these novels, early novels. And another type of novel which made an early appearance was historical romance. The next slide, please. Regional voices and themes here. So this was 19th century, and the beginning of the 20th century witnessed a gradual growth of this form, this novel. And you know what we can say, during this time there appeared the trio of Indian English novel. We students of English literature are aware, we as students of English literature are aware who are these: Mulk Raj Anand, R.K. Narayan, Raja Rao. So these three people are called trio of Indian English novel, and these three people were active, published during almost same time. Mulkraj Anand and R.K. Narayan's first novel was published in 1935, and Raja Rao's first novel was published in 1938. Mulkraj Anand's Untouchable, Coolie, R.K. Narayan, Swami and Friends, and The Bachelor of Arts, Raja Rao's Kantapura. So these are very important novels which marked the beginning of solid Indian English novel. And all these three writers continued to write till the end of 20th century. And while early Indian novels were predominantly written by authors from Bengal and other regions like Madras Presidency, but during this time, people from other areas they started writing in English. So, for example, R.K. Narayan, he is from Karnataka. He brought regional settings and characters to the forefront of Indian English novel here. Now, Narayan's novels such as Swami and Friends, The Guide, these works depicted the everyday lives of ordinary Indians with humor and empathy. So, that regional flavor came to novels because of such writers here. The early 20th century, that is the beginning of national consciousness, and we'll see how this national consciousness got expressed expressed in literature, especially in novels. You know, literature is also considered as a means of activism. Some people actively participated in freedom movement, and many writers participated and supported freedom movement through their writings, and especially the poets, what we call this cultural nationalism, and especially the novels writers like Bankim Chandra, they played a pivotal role, in forming this national consciousness. And many writers, you know, it was for them it was quite natural thing to write about freedom, to write about Gandhi and all that. So that is why these early Indian English novelists were not only storytellers but also social commentators, because they engaged in the political and cultural debates of their time. With the rise of nationalist movement in India, writers like Mulk Raj Anand, Raja Rao, R.K. Narayan began exploring themes of identity, nationalism, and social reform in their novels. So Anand's Untouchable, Raja Rao's Kantapura you can say that they are exemplary works, because these novels reflect the nationalist consciousness of that era. And you know, this Indian English novel, uh, as I already told, that was natural for these writers, because the the what was going on at that time in the country, naturally it got it was depicted in the novels. So this early Indian English novel, that is early 20th century Indian English novel, it was deeply influenced by the political, sociological, and ideological ferment caused by the Gandhian movement. The novelists of Gandhian age were, you know, preoccupied with the politics of the day. It was during that period that Indian English fiction discovered some of its most significant themes, such as ordeal of the freedom struggle, East-West relationship, and the communal problem, and the plight of untouchables, because only they aimed not only for political freedom, social freedom was, they were fighting for social freedom was also. That is why untouchability was a very common theme, and that marginalized people, depiction of marginalized people also we can see here. I want to mention one writer here, that is K.S. Venkata Ramani's novel Murugan the Tiller, and we can consider that this writer is, considered as the first to come under this influence, and this was followed by many other writers. So, as Gandhiji's popularity rose, so did his influence with many authors of the time, using the literature to portray his ideals. The novelists like Mulk Raj Anand, Raja Rao, R.K. Narayan, K.S. Venkatramani, which I already mentioned, K.S. Abbas, all these writers portrayed Gandhiji's ideals and influence of Gandhiji on Indian villages and towns. So their writings were filled with Gandhiji's idealism, his lifestyle, his teachings, and anti-colonial stance. So I can give some examples here. R.K. Narayan's Waiting for Mahatma. So when we say waiting for Godo comes to mind. So this is a novel written by R.K. Narayan, Waiting for the Mahatma. So this novel reflects Gandhian ideology and influence of the influence Gandhiji's influence on the people of country. Now, one more, his novel is Vendor of Sweets. R.K. Narayan's novel, Vendor of Sweets. Here, the hero, the protagonist of this novel is Jagan. and he considers himself a staunch satyagrahi, and he follows in the novel whatever Gandhiji says. He follows the lifestyle of Gandhiji here. So he spins charaka. He identifies himself with achieving nirvana like Buddha. So Arkinarayans, we can see the influence of Gandhi here. Then Mulkraj Anand, untouchable, again the celebrated character Baka here. So, and third, Kantapura, Raja Rao's Kantapura. And this novel echoes Gandhi's, the writing style itself is very interesting. Kantapura's writing style, because the way Rajarao has written that novel, he deviates from English grammatical rules there. Though the language is English, the way he writes is like Kannada. That itself, is a resistance, a kind of resistance, and the theme also. So this novel echoes Gandhi's Swadeshi anti-colonial protests, and the need for eradication of social evils like untouchability, casteism, and gender discrimination, alcoholism, etc. The central character here is Murthy, and he is considered as Gandhi's alter ego. And here, I already mentioned case Venkatramani and Murugan the Tiller. The theme is Gandhian theme, but Gandhi does not appear here in the novel. And K. Abbas's novel, Tomorrow is Ours, a novel of India of today. So this describes the issues of nationalism and untouchability through female protagonist. So one more writer I want to mention here is Bhavani Bhattacharya. So his very famous novel, So Many Hungers. So that depicts the Bengal famine and Quit India movement. And here, all the characters in this novel are influenced by Gandhian philosophy. Now, as I said, in many novels, Gandhi does not appear as a character there, but Gandhi's ideals, his philosophy, is there in all these novels. So, uh, I'm not going in a very detailed manner to describe, because this is a different topic altogether. So I can talk only about this national consciousness and all that. So as my lecture is a kind of a survey, so I move to next one. So next theme in this Indian English, early Indian English novel is social realism. You know. Pre-independence, you know, in an English novel, and post-independence in an English novel. So it after independence also, this in an English novel retained that momentum, and this momentum it had gained before independence only. So after independence also, this Indian English novel retained that momentum. And earlier also, before independence also, novels dealt with this social realities, and after independence also, many writers continue to write about this social realities. So already I have mentioned the writers like Bhavani Bhattacharya. So I want to mention other writers like Manohar Malgaonkar and Kushwant Singh, Arun Joshi, and Chaman Nahal. So by the end of 60s and early 70s, so these new voices came like Arun Joshi and Chaman Nahal. So here, especially Bhavani Bhattacharya, he writes about social realities. So all his works, uh, deal with one or the other social problems, because He is of the opinion that a novel must have a social purpose. So his first novel, So Many Hungers, and his one more novel, He Who Rides a Tiger, that is considered as the finest novel, and Shadow from Ladakh. So it won the Sahitya Academy Award in 1967. So Manohar Malgaonkar, he began his career with the Distant Drum, and his next work is The Princess. It was in 1963. So this Princess is considered as his best novel, and Bend in Ganges. Bend in Ganges deals with partition theme. You know, one more his work is The Devil's Wind, and you know, social realism means many writers deal with this partition also here. And Kushwant Singh's first novel is about this partition, Train to Pakistan. This the impact of partition on a small village on the Indo-Pakistan border was, it is shown with pitiless realism. It is said that pitiless realism of description. In fact, partition became the major theme of considerable number of works during this time. And Arun Joshi, I mentioned Arun Joshi earlier. So his recurrent theme is again, a kind of alienation. He has written three novels: The Foreigner, The Strange Case of Billy Biswas, and The Apprentice. So, in his novels, he attempts to deal with, uh, you know, uh, this theme with different perspectives here. And that is East West encounter, you can see here. And Chaman Nahal's novel, again Azadi, it got a Sahitya Academy Award in 1977. Uh, you can also see East West encounter in his another novel, Into Another Dawn. It was written in 1977. And during this time, many women novelists uh, started writing in large number, and these women novelists, for example, Ruth Prawar Jabwala, Kamla Markandeya, Naintar Sehgal, Anita Desai, they started writing. They started writing about urban middle class, about women's identity, about East-West encounter, like that. And these, especially these women novelists, are interested in human relationships, especially among the women in Hindu joint family. So these writers, for example, Kamla Markande, she is an expatriate writer, and in all her novels, you see a variety of settings, variety of characters, and the themes are also different here. And those novels, for example, Nectar in a Sieve, Some Inner Fury, Possession, The No Way Man, The Golden Honeycomb. So, her first novel, Nectar in the Sea, it was published in 1954, and The Golden Honeycomb in 1977. So, these are her well known works. And Nayanthara Sehgal, you know, she is considered as the exponent of political novel. And she not only deals with politics, she also deals with women's search for sexual freedom and self realization. So, her novel, Time to Be Happy, this is her first novel. It was published in 1958. It deals with two North Indian families during the last stage of freedom struggle and arrival of independence. So, this time of mourning and a situation in Delhi are other works. So one more writer, woman writer, is Anita Desai, and her way of writing or depiction or portrayal is different, because Anita Desai differs from other writers, other women writers. because she's more interested in interior landscape of the mind than political or social realities. So her novel Cry the Peacock, it was published in 1963. So where shall we go this summer, Clear Light of Day. So these are her popular works. And uh, many these are not only women writers, many writers are there. So many Muslim writers are also there, and they all deal with inner conflict and external conflict. Women face that they have depicted in their writings. And 1950s and 60s, you know during that time, a few women are there compared to earlier period. So Lotika Ghosh, Pranalini Sarabhai. So I can mention Rama Mehta. These were active during that period. So women writers, how they are different from their male counterparts, and how they are interested in the, what you say, innermost circle of woman's mind. So we can see in their novels here. So this is, and 1980s, we know what happened that time. LPZ, that is liberalization, globalization, and privatization. So that affected the entire life, entire world. So literature is not an exception here. So literature also got affected by this globalization. And this 1980s, that is considered as a second coming for Indian English novel, because in 1981 Midnight Children was published. And this Midnight Children, that is considered as, it is it has brought about a renaissance in Indian English writing, because its influence, this is acknowledged by critics and novelists alike. you know it has been apparent in more than one way. The appearance of certain postmodern playfulness, the turn to history, a new exuberance of language. So Salman Rushdie uses a word in his novel, chetnification. Chetnification, he mixes Hindi and English. That is a kind of experimentation. So that is something new at that time. Nowadays everybody does that reinvention of allegory. And another thing is that the sexual frankness, and the narrative technique, his experimentation with narrative technique, using that storytelling method of India's Katha Sarit Sagara. So the teller of the story, and what is that? That is Neti, and Sutradhara and Neti. That kind of experiment he has done here, Salman Rushdie. And after 1980, whoever wrote, so unknowingly or knowingly, they came under the influence of this work, Midnight's Children. So novelists like Amitav Ghosh, Vikram Seth, Shashi Tharoor, Upamanyu Chatterjee, Shashi Deshpande, Arundhati Roy, Vikram Chandra, Manju Kapoor, Rohington Mistry, uh, many writers, Indira Goswami. So they wrote during this time. And today, uh, Indian Indian English novel, it has become a big tree with many branches, but it has got a very strong roots, and it has, one independent and renowned branch in the arena of English literature. So this became possible only because of conscious and commendable efforts of many writers in the past. So contemporary writers like Desai, Jhumpa Lahiri, Jayashree Mishra, Anish Yung, Arvind Dadiga, Chetan Bhagat, Anis Salim. So all these people have brought a marked change into Indian English novel. This 21st century also has witnessed the emergence of pulp fiction and metro reads. So these are very popular with our youth today. And when we talk about these things, so when you read the Indian English novels, we come across variety of themes. So the last part of my this thing is diverse voices and themes. So I want to talk about some of the themes uh, which are dealt with these writers these writers. You know, wide range of themes, wide range of voices we can see in Indian English novels, and this reflects the heterogeneity of Indian society. So, because Indian society is not a monolithic society; it's a plural society, and that plurality, is reflected in an English novel. So that is why we have a variety of novels today. So from historical fiction to magical realism, from social satire to psychological drama, and these writers, Indian English writers, have pushed the boundaries of literary expression. So these writers like Salman Rushdie, Arundhati Roy, and Vikram Chandra have got global recognition because they have contributed to the rich tapestry of world literature. So this evolution of Indian English novel, it encompasses diverse voices, themes. So uh, the first, when we talk about the triumph of Indian English novel, early 20th century, from that time only, so what did they do? They tried to explore uh, cultural identity. We can see in R.K. Narayan, Rajarao, Mulkraj Anand, so that Malgudi, that creation of Malgudi, so that itself, and it is a combination of both Indian culture and Western influence. So that we can see here. And another, uh, thing what we see in an English novel is caste, class, and social realities. So many novels deal with this thing, like Arvind Adiga's The White Tiger, Arundhati Roy's The God of Small Things, Mysteries, A Fine Balance. So all these novels have portrayed the harsh realities faced by marginalized communities in Indian society. So, these novels offer a stark critique of social hierarchies and injustices that perpetuated in our society. So, next one is historical fiction and mythological retellings. You know that everybody is retelling our mythology, Puranas, the stories, folk tales, everything, every story is being retold now. uh, these retellings are popular than sometimes original writing. They offer, a very interesting and very different perspective about this mythology. And historical fiction and mythological retellings are very popular today. Writers like Amitav Ghosh, Amish Tripathi, Chitra Banerjee, Divakarani, so they have blended, present and past. They have blended historical events and mythological narratives to create, a kind of captivating stories. That these stories, the contemporary readers can identify themselves with those characters. So these retellings offer very fresh perspectives uh, on India's rich mythological and historical heritage. And I cannot leave the topic feminist writings here, feminist discourse and gender dynamics. So many writers, many feminist women writers are there, and men also use this theme in their writings. So it began in the early 20th century, and contemporary writers, it's always evergreen topic. And that is, can mention here, Clear Light of the Day, That Long Silence, and Difficult Daughters, especially Manju Kapoor's Difficult Daughters. uh, these no the themes of patriarchy, gender discrimination, women empowerment. So such themes are, these writers deal with such themes with sensitivity and depth. And these novels, they are, no, I used the word discourse here. So they offer discourse, and they contribute to the ongoing discussions on gender roles and women rights in India. And as I already talked about globalization, the result of globalization is urbanization. And that urbanization is one of the major themes of Indian English novel today. And this rapid urbanization, you know many writers have written about this urbanization. Writers like Chetan Bhagat, in his many novels, I can mention Two States and all that. Kiran Desai's The Inheritance of Loss, Vikram Chandra's Sacred Games. So all such works, they depict the complexities of urban life. They depict cultural hybridity and the impact of globalization on Indian society. So these novels reflect the changing aspirations, values, and lifestyles of contemporary Indians. So one more thing I want to say is that diasporic experiences and transnational identities. Today, uh, Indian diaspora is considered as the largest diaspora. And this diasporic experiences of Indians living abroad uh, are depicted in many novels. So, like Jhumpa Lahari's The Namesake, even Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children, V.S. Naipaul's A House for Mr. Biswas. Many contemporary writers are also there. They deal with the themes like displacement, identity crisis, cultural assimilation. So, with the profound insight and empathy, because these writers themselves have settled outside India, and their own experiences, their own struggles, their own negotiations. They write about all those things in their works here. So, with this, I want to conclude my lecture. My concluding words are: the evolution of Indian English novel is characterized by its embrace of diverse voices, themes, reflecting the rich tapestry of Indian society. By exploring cultural identity to addressing social issues, from reimagining history to depicting diasporic experiences, Indian English novel continues to captivate readers with its depth, complexity, and relevance. So, Indian English novel, has come a long way, and it will go a long way. So, with this, I want to conclude my talk. And once again, I thank the organizers and the participants for your patient listening. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Yes, ma'am. Uh, just a second. First of all, I would like to thank you and congratulate you, ma'am, for presenting this wonderful survey of the Indian English novel since its beginning up until today. It was very, very informative and very intriguing, in fact, as a student of history and literature, to understand and to uh, go through the journey of the history of Indian English novel. So there is a question. I would like to read it out. It is by our honorary president, Shri Nandan Shastri ji. like Earl Stanley Gardner, an American author, best known for series of legal detective stories among Indian authors of English novels.
Yeah, I can see the question here. Sir, actually, there are many. I am not getting any name now. There are many famous detective novel writers in Indian English. Not only male writers, we have many female writers also. So many female writers are writing detective novels and sci-fi novels also. I did not mention all those things because I was I focused mainly on the early writers. So even science fiction, we call them sci-fi works, science fiction also. So many women earlier, the only male writers used to write science fiction and detective novels, but today many women writers are writing detective novels and science fictions.
Thank you very much, ma'am. There is a question by Shreyashi Chaudhary. How far has the issue of transgenders been addressed in the novels?
Third gender. It is
Yes.
third gender. Yeah, today in literature, many writers, even from Kannada also, a writer like Vasudhendra has written in Kannada collection of short stories. The short stories Mohanaswamy, and it is translated into English also. These stories deal with the third gender, and we have a theory also today. It is called queer theory. Queer theory. We apply this theory to study the works which deal with third gender. Not only third gender, it is we call it LGBTQ plus.
Yes, ma'am. I do want to add something here. Uh, I think we should stop calling them the third gender because then who is the first and the second? So,
Yeah. That is why we should not use that word. It is called LGBTQ.
yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
I also have a question which I have posted. What was the early response of readers to feminist writings? Because even today, I have heard many people criticizing feminism, not knowing the meaning of the word itself. Many of them think
Yeah,
that feminist stories or novels are just pathetic stories of a crying woman. So, has the reception of this theme changed over time?
yeah. Early, when women started writing, um, the male counterparts never considered it as literature itself because it was called Adigemani Sahitya, kitchen literature. Their experiences were limited to the kitchen. They only write about their dress. They only write about recipes and cooking and all that. So it was quite natural also because women were confined within four walls, and how could they write about other things? So what they knew, they wrote about that, but they had that thinking, that perspectives, thinking out of the box, we can say. So within, we have writers, at present I'm not getting the name of that woman writer from Bengal. She's a Muslim writer. She used to sit in front of that oven, that chula, ole. She used to read in the light of that fire and using coal, and she practiced writing like that. So this was their struggle, and quite natural. Their themes were limited, but that is why I told today women are writing detective novels. Today women are writing science fiction. So they have come a long way, and response also has changed. We have like many gyno criticism, and feminist theories, and like eco feminism, all these things.
Thank you, ma'am. Nidhi, do you have any questions?
No, not at all. It was a wonderful lecture. So no questions from my side.
I do have another question, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me.
So we in European literature or American literature, we have fantasy theory, fantasy series like Harry Potter or The Lord of the Rings. Are there any such series in Indian English novel which have become very popular and may have like
No, writers like Salman Rushdie and other many writers, they use magic realism. That is called magic realism. What Harry Potter uses magic realism. Many Indian writers, not only in India English, regional writers also, they're using that magic realism, and especially when in children's literature to attract the children, they use this technique, magical realism. But the canvas what Harry Potter uses, that kind of big canvas we don't have, as far as I know, here. But there are efforts and there are many books popular with children and means adults also.
thank you very much, ma'am. Uh, I would like to request Nandan Shastri sir, Honorary President of the History Enthusiast, kindly add a few words to this.
Before giving concluding remarks, I want to compliment Dr. Nagaratna. Uh, your voice is so sweet, like that
Thank
of
you so much.
Sarojini Naidu,
Thank you,
called
sir.
Florence Nightingale of India. And you have given an excellent tool to the audience, highlighting various phases of Indian English novels on diverse subjects also. And although I am a student of science, uh, my interest in uh, English novels started from the year 2004, and while I was at Baylor University in Texas, there is a very old Armstrong Browning library, and it has the largest single concentration of collection of books in the entire world. And um, I recapitulate one particular event in that library. There was a quiz program on Indian English novels, and you will be surprised that it lasted for 2 hours. There were two teams of students in the quiz program, and the audience also took so much interest in the quiz that the duration went on and went on further. Uh, and I would like to appreciate your speech, and it was excellent, and you have covered all the aspects very thoroughly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you very much. Before we conclude the lecture, ma'am, what is your message to young readers? Because the culture of reading is drastically falling now. Everybody is trying to. They are prioritizing other things over books. So, what message do you have for us?
What message is that we should convince the children that books are unfailing companions. You know, if you have reading habit, you will never feel alone. So they are with you when you are happy. They are with you when you are unhappy also. And to cultivate reading habit in our children, we should read first. Uh, when if parents read, automatically children follow that. And if we watch TV or some OTT, and if we tell children to read, they don't read. So we should give example, our own example. And I'm happy to say that I have two sons, and my two sons are voracious readers.
Great.
And
Thank you
once
very much.
again, I thank you for this opportunity.
No, ma'am, thank you for spending your valuable time with us and giving us so much knowledge. Uh, and I do want to add, as you said, yes, we have to cultivate the habit of reading. And to the um youngsters who are watching this, uh, not just the textbooks and reference books that we have to read for our exams, we can learn a whole world of knowledge, a whole lot of things from fiction, from historical novels, from a lot of other things. We get a lot more knowledge than we can from just reading textbooks. So don't think they are in any way inferior to the purely textbook knowledge. So I now request Ms. Nidhi Katti to propose the vote of thanks.
Yeah, before vote of thanks, I want to congratulate both of these young researchers, and you have a caring mentor. You're lucky to have Nandan sir like Nandan Shastri sir, and you're doing wonderful job. Congratulations once again. Hmm? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. So I take this opportunity to do the vote of thanks. So we have started this new series to understand how English literature came in India, how it became popular, how people of India adapted it with other languages literature too. So ma'am has given a beautiful start to this series, and thank you so much, ma'am, for doing such a beautiful lecture. Thank you so much, and we want your support, guidance in future too, for our organization and of course for this series. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I also thank our honorary president, Nandan Shastri ji, and President Miss Manali Momaya, and of course all the audience who supported us through the journey. And of course, we had a great amount of viewers today who have joined us live. Keep supporting us. We will come with new lectures. And if you have any recommendations regarding resource persons or titles, you can, of course, text in the chat box. We will take those. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. Uh, have a happy weekend.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you to Nidhi also for being a wonderful co-host. If anyone has any book reviews, or if you want to share your research with us, our platform is open to everyone, and you just have to text us or email us, and we are ready to host you. So kindly allow us the chance to. Uh, Thank you. We are signing off here.